the Impaired Files with me, the Nerdy Chicano, Raul Alejandro Mendoza. And today is a wonderful episode, and I want to thank you all so much for last week's episode. Once again, you guys blow it out of the water. I'm really happy you guys enjoyed the episode with Colton Gashwander, a.k.a. the Desert Tiger himself, host of the Desert Tiger podcast. And today I've got another special guest to talk with me, and we're going to do a Patreon section at the end, of course. And today I have Amanda Dingman with me, content creator on YouTube, and she is incredible content creator, and I'm glad to have her on here. A friend of Ayden Byrnes. I've had him on the show a couple of times before, and you guys can go listen to that episode. I believe that was episode 2 or 3. Might be 3. But I'm really happy to have Amanda with me. Amanda, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. I used to do this bit where I just tell people, "Welcome to therapy," because this is basically therapy.
Honestly, that's what I was like. I'm ready for this therapy session right now. Let's do this.
Yeah, well, no therapist needed here. You just have Raul here with you. But
exactly.
yeah, it's I never like to make it feel like therapy. I just played around with you with that. But today's gonna be a pretty fun episode. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff that Amanda does, and I'm really happy to have her here, and I can't wait to do the after hours after the basically the Patreon section for this episode, because we have a really interesting topic. And just want to remind you all that Patreon supporters at the $5 tier get the extra Patreon section for this interview. But if you are just a $1 tier or above, you guys get this episode a whole week early before anybody else gets to listen to it. So that's pretty cool stuff right there. And without further ado, I guess we can get into this. Amanda,
yes,
you do videos on YouTube, and I do a little bit of a icebreaker before I actually, because I have some people who come in here and they're kind of nervous, so I like to break the ice a little bit.
Okay.
With
Oh man, icebreakers are my hardest thing. Okay.
No. It's not like 2 things about yourself, whatever. No.
Okay, great. Ooh,
no, I've asked for college. When I've got none of that. God, I hate those. No. When I have filmmakers on here, I ask them what their favorite movie of all time is. When I have musicians on here, I ask them what their favorite musician is. And since you are a YouTuber, I want to know who your favorite YouTuber is.
Oh man, I have to pick one.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, let me think.
Not much of an icebreaker if you got to really.
I know, I have to think about it, because I have a lot of favorite YouTubers, but to have to pick one, let's see. I'd have to say, he's not as known as most people probably don't know him, but his name is Mikey Murphy. Yeah, he's young. He lives in LA. He's just like a random daily vlogger, kind of like I am. However, he does a lot of cinematography on the side. So his YouTube videos are really great. They have great cinematography. And he focuses on that a lot, which I really like. But he's also, just being himself in the videos, that kind of thing. And I feel very he's very relatable. He's very fun to watch. That's awesome. I'm not going to go with the standard answer of Casey Neistat, or Emma Chamberlain or something. I'm going to go with Mikey Murphy because I really like him.
Big fan of Casey as well, but I am a big fan. Recently just started really getting into this guy, and he's honestly really, really interesting guy. Eduardo Poves Goye, he is a photography YouTuber, but most importantly, he is a film photography. So he does film like Mr. Ayden Byrnes, and what's it called? He's such a great YouTuber. Plus, he's Chilean, so I'm Latino. I gotta support my Chilean brothers and sisters. Yeah. So it works. I gotta do that. And he's an awesome YouTuber. I believe he lives in New York as well, if I remember correctly. But him, King Jups. I can't remember how to pronounce that name. But yes, Casey was one of the ones that I watched early on that I really stuck with me. But like I said, I just got so much into podcasting that I really decided to, ignore YouTube a lot. But don't worry, I'm slowly going through your repertoire, and I'm trying to finish all the videos.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. A lot of them are, from a year ago. A lot of them are from even longer than a year ago. And just sometimes I'll go rewatch my old videos and I'm like, I edited this, like this is terrible,
Mm-hmm.
but then I like it because I see growth over time, because sometimes I'll be like, wow, this is a really good video, or wow,
Yeah.
this definitely needed work, but I can tell, even in a month's couple span, like I'll be like, oh wow, so much has changed in the way that I produce videos, I edit, I film, the lighting, everything. I'm just getting better every day. So
Yeah, and that's interesting because you've done this for almost a year already, and you've definitely seen that growth. And what are things that kind of stick out to you when you watch those old videos?
mostly things that stick out to me, like personally when I'm watching them, is like editing style,
Mm-hmm.
because I think over time I've learned a lot more with editing, and I'm like, oh, I should have done that, or oh, I should have edited it this way, kind of thing. But one thing I do realize throughout the videos is that I've always not been shy of the camera. And so I'm like proud of myself for that, because even in the beginning I wasn't afraid to like sit down and talk about whatever I wanted to talk about. But now, I mean, obviously every day I'm getting more and more comfortable with it and kind of opening up a little more about topics I wouldn't have talked about then. But I do see that I was never shy with the camera, which I liked.
Yeah, and that's something that I kind of struggle. Well, I wasn't ever shy with the camera. I just was never comfortable in front of it. Once
Mhm.
upon a time, I used to make videos for YouTube as well,
Yeah,
and
that's what I had thought. I had talked to Ayden about it a little bit.
yeah, Aiden probably remembers those
Yeah.
videos, but I deleted those videos a long time ago, and I didn't enjoy it that much. And like I told you when I watched your most recent ones, I said, God, this makes me really want to pick my camera back up and just do this again, the whole vlogging thing. But I remembered, Raul, you're not good in front of the camera. You weren't meant to be in front of the camera. You were meant to be in back of it.
I mean, that's only for you to decide, but it makes me like really happy that you were inspired by my videos, and that you know like, I want to do this again. It makes me want to create again. That makes me feel so good.
Yeah. The only time I get in front of the camera is for the viewers, I mean, the listeners here. And when we do live shows and stuff like that, that's the only time I get in front of the camera. But any other time, it's just some kind of in the background. And it's kind of the reason why I fell in love with podcasting a lot, is because I didn't have to be in front of a camera. And I could do this
Yeah.
for hours and hours and hours. And I don't edit these things at all. I don't edit at
Oh
all.
man, it's going on like no edits. What if
No.
I sneeze?
No, that's fine. We'll keep that in there. We
I
keep
mean,
that in
it
there.
makes sense. And like podcasts are really great, especially for I personally I love podcasts because I mean, I live in New York. I am on the train all the time. I'm on the go. Podcasts are a great thing to turn on, just listen
Mm-hmm.
to, but also feel like I'm part of a conversation. I'm having something, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
listening, I'm learning, from whoever I'm listening to, or I'm laughing, and it's just a
Yeah.
really good platform, because it's like it doesn't require your eyes, so you can do it while you're doing other things.
Yeah. Something I realized from your videos that you're very real, you're very raw, you're kind of, no bullshit. You kind of put it all out there, It's something that I've noticed with a lot of YouTubers, and it's the thing that, kind of my opinion on social media in general is that on social media, we don't really show the true nature of ourselves. Like, we don't say when we're sad, we don't say when we're happy, we don't say when we're feeling depressed and stuff like that. But in your first video, you just right off the bat, you said you've dealt with anxiety and depression. And I was like, I appreciate that, because that it's you being very raw, very real with the audience. And I think a lot of people don't do that these days. I think people kind of want to mask what they go through because they think the audience doesn't want to have to listen to that. So where did that confidence come from?
Honestly, it like took me by surprise when you said that I said that, because I don't even remember like that being the main thing I said, because it's
Yeah.
just when I talk to the camera and I'm talking, it's just what I feel I want to say, I'm going to say. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like there's a character that I have to play. And like, if I have to play a character on YouTube, then I can't, it's going to be inconsistent, because every time I'm not going to be the same type of, I'm not going to be in the same mood, that kind of thing. So I'm like, the only thing I need to be is myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like, okay, if I need to say something, if I feel like we should talk about that, then let's talk about it. I don't know where this confidence comes from. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I put that on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I do that? But at the same time, I'm like, I'm glad I did it, because it shows like the rawness of things. I like to make videos where I did just wake up, or like I didn't do anything to my hair or anything like
Yeah.
that, because I feel like you said, there isn't enough of that on YouTube.
Yeah.
At least not that I see, not that you see. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to these things, but don't want to show, not the best version of themselves. So that's why I feel like if I film without makeup on, or if I film talking about my feelings one day, someone might be able to recognize, oh, hey, that's okay. I want to normalize that, especially with like anxiety and depression. I want to normalize those ideas because a lot of people go through them and no one ever talks about it. So I want people to know that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to feel those things. So I guess that's just where it comes from.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You're like, what's it called? I don't even remember I said that. And I'm like, I did my homework. I did my homework before I got on here.
You did.
I rewatched a couple videos. Well, I mean, I do my homework every night when I watch your videos. So,
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. So you live in New York. But you're not from New York. You're originally from outside of New Orleans, but you say you're from New Orleans.
Yes. New Orleans. Just saying New Orleans is so much easier. Because if I say, hi, I'm from a town called Slidell, people are like, what? And then I'm like, oh, I'm from right outside New Orleans. They're like, okay, cool. I know where that is,
Yeah, it's the same thing I have to tell people when they say, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Brownsville, Texas. And he goes, where's that? It's like all the way deep down south in between the U.S. and Mexico. There's a little border town called Brownsville, Texas, and that's where I'm from.
There you go. That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, pretty much. And growing up, was there ever a fascination with you and, being in front of a camera, being very open to talk, kind of storytelling? Because what you do on YouTube is storytelling.
Yeah, for sure. So in high school, I was really involved. I wouldn't necessarily say anything with storytelling was incorporated. I didn't really think about that kind of thing. I really just knew I wanted to be in the arts whenever I grew up. And for a long time, my goal was to actually work at like, how do I explain it? Like for example, I wanted to be like a talk show host at like ABC or something like that. And I really fought between, do I want to be in front of the camera or do I want to be behind the camera? Because in high school, I was in theater, so I was always in front of the camera. But then some shows I would be, I would be doing lighting or I would be doing sound or, I was backstage and I loved that as well. So it was a really hard decision of, do I want to be in front? Do I want to be behind? And even now I still kind of sometimes like fight with it and think, maybe I do want to be behind for certain things. But I think overall I've come to the conclusion that, being in front of the camera for myself, at least, is where I feel I belong.
Yeah. So you kind of very much fell in love with the whole production process in general. So in front of the camera, back at the camera, because I mean, as YouTubers, you basically do it all. I mean, you produce, you edit, you direct, you star in it. So you're basically doing the whole 9 yards with it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's true now that I think about it. Yeah. YouTube is like the best of both worlds because I do have to, obviously be in the camera, but I also do have to edit the videos, all that stuff. I have to do all the dirty work. So, yeah, I guess it is the best of both worlds now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's just the growing change in the whole production world. Really, back then you had to have a expensive camera just to even make something, and you had to be the top of the top to get like even a portion of screen time on the air and on TV. And now it's all possible through your phone. And I think that's the most amazing thing. And I'm glad that people like you have the confidence to go ahead and broadcast because it's not easy to put yourself out there. It's not at all. And as somebody who's been doing 2 years worth of podcasting, it's not easy to come on every night and record here for you all. But, there's a level of vulnerability that comes with it. And how important is that vulnerability to you when you record every day, whenever you record?
Yeah, it's very true. I sometimes think, oh, I don't know if I want to put this out there. I don't know if my parents are watching. What if they are afraid that I'm not okay or something? If I'm talking about mental health or anything like that, and I'll be sure to have a conversation with them and say, hey, this is going up. I just want to let you know I'm okay, kind of thing. Even if it's nothing major, I just don't want them to worry. So it's hard for me to be vulnerable sometimes, but I do feel at the end of the day, if it even helps one person, realize, okay, this is okay to talk about, or okay, I'm not the only person in the world who feels like this, then I feel like it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth me putting my vulnerability on the line, putting myself out there, risking like scaring my parents or anything like that. So, I definitely think that it pays off.
Yeah, that's interesting. And by the way, if I ever ask something that, it's a little bit too, personal, go ahead and just tell me and we'll go ahead and skip over that. But it's interesting that you're saying, you're over here being very vulnerable. You're not scared to talk about the anxiety and the depression and all that. But you're kind of alarmed when you think that your parents might be listening to it and you might be the ones hearing it. So where is that line to you? Like, is there the idea of like being vulnerable with the audience, but I don't want my parents to kind of take it in a different way?
No, it's more so like I'm okay with my parents taking it the same way as anyone else listening or watching might take it, but I know they'll take it more personal, and I know they'll feel like they have to, I mean, not that they feel like they have to worry, but they'll definitely worry more, obviously, because they're my parents, and because we don't live in the same place. They live in Louisiana still. I live here. I don't want them to feel like they're helpless because I'm here sad by myself, battling these things while they're there, feeling like they could do more. But there's nothing more that they could do. They've done everything, that they could do for me. It's just, things I have to deal with every day. And, I get past them. I've learned how to cope. I've learned how to handle these things. But, these things do hit me every so often, just like they hit a lot of people, unfortunately. Yeah. And I know how to process it. I know how to get through it, but I do have to feel those emotions,
Yeah.
I just want them to feel helpless.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you talk about, the whole that they're miles away from you. And of course you moved in, what year did you move to New York?
I moved to New York, August of 2014. So right after high school. I graduated high school in May of 2014. I had the summer in Louisiana, and then I moved up here with like 5 bags, and that was it.
Nice. And you were going to school in New York?
Yes, I came for school. So I went to Baruch College. It's a City University of New York college. And I went for 3 years. Yeah, 3.5 years. I graduated December of 2017. And then I decided I'm not leaving. And not yet, at least.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a wonderful city to be in. And that movie must have been pretty hard for your parents. So how did it feel, having to move out and come all the way over here and them not being able to see you often?
To be honest, it was hard. I mean, I know it was definitely hard for my parents. It was definitely hard for me as well, but at the same time I was very excited to be living in New York. So I don't think I really felt like the brunt of all those feelings until a couple months after I moved. I realized like, oh my gosh, I'm so sad. Like I'm not with my parents all the time. You don't realize, when you live with your parents or you live with anyone who you've grown up with, even if you're not talking to them 24/7, you're surrounded by them. You're in the same house as them. So whenever I was over the huge, big thrill of, oh my gosh, I live in New York City, and it was my normal again, it was weird on like Saturdays and Sundays when I didn't have school and I was in the dorm at the time, but I was in a dorm and my parents weren't there, just to talk to, just to be like, oh, what are you doing? So it got really hard at that point for me. For them, I think it was really hard in the beginning. My mom, whenever I used to live in Louisiana, would have me text her, like whenever I got places, whenever I would drive somewhere, she'd be like, okay, text me just so I know you're okay. So when I moved to New York, it was a big change. I wasn't going to text her and tell her every time I was leaving somewhere. So I think that was hard for her. But I tried to help with that situation by, still texting her, hey, I just got home, just got home from school, everything's good, and kind of let her know that I was doing well. We would talk a lot. My dad and I would talk a lot, just so, just to keep that distance so small.
Well, it's nice to hear that you have a really good relationship with your parents. Not a lot of people have that.
Yeah. And it's great because I also have a brother, and we're very different people in that sense. My brother's the kind of person who talks to my mom on the phone every day, kind of thing. Whereas I don't talk to my parents every day on the phone, but I do talk to my parents every day. Like my mom and I will always send each other good morning and good night texts, and anything in between. My dad and I will send funny pictures back and forth. So I don't necessarily need to talk to them on the phone every day, but I do communicate with them other ways.
Yeah, my parents and I and my brothers, we have a group chat, so that's how we stay in contact. And then
those are the best.
Yeah,
those are the best.
Oh yeah, and then we call each other if we sometimes in the week, It gets hard sometimes because we get really busy and we can't really answer all the calls, or somebody calls during class time and you can't answer, and when you call back they don't answer.
Exactly.
Life happens. It happens.
That's why I've kind of given up on like calling all the time. That's why we text more so, because my schedule is very different from theirs, especially my dad. My dad goes to sleep really early, and I do the opposite. So it's really hard to talk to him if I'm on a phone call. So that's why I feel texting is best.
Oh yeah, but also I got a call. I'm Latino. I grew up in the Latino family. It's very different. You have to call.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're gonna get your ass beat if you don't. So, it's your brother. You did a whole video with your brother, and I think I
did do a whole video with my brother.
That's actually one of my favorites.
Oh, really? Was it?
That's actually one of my favorites.
I'm glad you liked it. I was watching it actually the other day, like again, and I was like, wow, this could have been better, but I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. That's interesting that you go back and you watch a lot of your stuff, because, I mean, I don't know a lot of YouTubers that go back and watch your stuff, but in what I know, podcasting, a lot of people, they say, oh, I don't like to go back and listen to myself. And I'm like, guys, I have to go back and listen to these episodes because I need to make sure that the audio is good. And I'll go back. I'll go ahead and say that I've gone back and I've listened to the first episode I've ever done like at least 10 times. I go back and I revisit it to make sure to see what I've grown from. But it's interesting that you go back and you watch your own videos.
Yeah, like I don't really know how to explain why I do, but for like when I'm editing a video, editing is definitely the hardest process for me, just because it takes me so long to process, okay, is this exactly what I want the audience to see? I really stress myself out editing. I shouldn't, but I do. And so once I'm done with a video, I have seen that video so many times. I do not want to watch it at all once I post it. Obviously I do rewatch it to make sure there's no issues with it. It's exactly what I want it to be. Yeah. I'll export it. I'll upload it. I won't look at that thing for a week. I'm like, forget about it. I'm not looking. And then maybe a week goes by. Even sometimes I don't even like, I'm not anticipating the wait. I just let the week go by, let the couple weeks go by, the month go by, and then I'll go back to the video and I'll watch it, and it feels great because it's like I'm a new user, or not a new user, I'm a new person, different person watching this video because I don't remember everything that I did. Once I get into it, obviously I remember, but it's nice to see it from an outside perspective, and I'm like, oh, this was so much fun. I remember all this. I remember what I didn't put in here. I remember what I did put in here. And it's also, like you said, it's great to go back and watch or listen because it's like, wow, I've grown so much, or like that, what was I doing? I feel like I've been able to move past that and really help myself like get better with whatever I was trying to do. So
yeah,
good to look back.
Yeah, it's good to look back. And it's interesting because the content creation that you do in general, because like, of course, on YouTube, there's so many different YouTubers. Like, there's photography, there's food, there's makeup, there's all that stuff, right? But you in general, you seem to do documentary based. Like, you're documenting your life. You're putting your life out there. So it must feel nice for you to go back and watch those videos, and you're kind of basically revisiting memories.
Exactly. And that's one thing I really like about my channel itself. A lot of people, have tried to give me YouTube advice. We've talked about it. And the main thing a lot of people say is you need to pick something specific. You're going to be like a beauty vlogger, which definitely I cannot be. You could be, you need to focus on living in New York City, or you need to focus on one specific thing that makes you different from everyone else. And as much as I agree with that statement, just a part of me doesn't want to put myself in a bubble. I want to be able to create whatever I want to create, whatever I feel like, is going to be good for me. Like I'm going to feel content. I'm going to feel happy with it. So I haven't put myself in a bubble. I've tried to, kind of use New York as my, little like gateway into being different than everyone else. But at the same time, it's just like, if I don't want to make a video about that, I'm not going to make a video about that. I want to create what makes me happy. I'm not going to put myself in a bubble and stick to that. So yeah, my channel is more lifestyle than everything else, which is harder to grasp other people's attention, if they don't know who I am, because why would they care about a stranger's life? But as long as the people who are watching enjoy it, that's all I care about. And I love revisiting those memories myself. So even if no one was watching it, I'm able to go rewatch it and, relive those memories, like you said.
Yeah, it's interesting that that's the advice they give you because I don't know. To me, we as humans, we have this fascination with being different. Like if somehow there's something in our brains that are telling us that it's bad to be, not different. And the only advice I would ever give you on YouTube is just to keep uploading. Just upload. Just keep uploading. Yeah. They said the same thing to me for podcasting. Raul, you do too many things. You're oversaturating your voice. He goes, stop it. Stop doing so many shows. Guess what? If it wasn't for me doing this grind, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. Let's go. I'll talk about movies. I'm going to interview people. I talk about video games. I talk about life. I do comedy. I talk about wrestling now and all that stuff. I do all these things, and guess what? People, that's what the people seem to enjoy is when I'm all over the place and I'm doing all these other things for all these other shows. And, there shouldn't be this kind of drive for us to make the channel or the content we make just one specific thing,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I get it, especially if people are really good at one specific thing, like beauty vloggers. I enjoy watching them because, one, I can't do that. Definitely not. But I like that they're so passionate about one specific thing. But I think the difference between, me and let's say a beauty vlogger or someone who puts themselves in a category is I'm not necessarily, I am fascinated with like one thing, but that one thing is, like having videos and cinematography and editing. So it's not what I'm doing. If that makes sense. It's more of like the process of everything is what I love versus like the beauty aspect, or whatever bubble. I keep saying beauty, but it's the easiest thing for me to kind of draw a distinction between me and someone else. But like you said, society, makes us feel like, being different is what we need to be and being different is good. But another reason I like to keep my channel more, lifestyle is because I am like a lot of young girls, like my intended audience. I'm a lot like a lot of people. Obviously, everyone's different in their own ways, but I don't want to say that, there's certain things about me that are different than everyone else, of course. But a lot of people, do dream of living in a big city when they're older. And I did that, and I know a lot of people do that as well. So it's not that I'm any different than they are. It's just that I have a different story to tell and I live differently than others might, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. And it's quite the, it's really interesting. Something really interesting about you. And I kind of want to continue on with this. This show, I don't like to do it like, prepare questions and stuff. I love doing conversations. I that's the whole point of this. Just sit you down and, have a conversation about you. I don't like doing the whole, come in with prepared questions. I'm like, I hate having it so scripted like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, for sure. And it also, like you said, it kind of feels like therapy. It feels nice.
I hope it doesn't feel like therapy. No, I will never.
I love therapy, so I can't complain.
All right, so let's talk about your childhood next. No.
Oh man. I don't know about that kind of therapy.
No, don't worry about it. I'm playing around. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think that's what has to come. That's what entails creating content. It's just this idea that, first of all, you're an open door to people having to criticize the way you create. That's the first thing. That's
very true.
Before you ever get the great job, I love your channel, you're always going to get the person that says, I think you could do this differently, or hey, you kind of don't make that good videos and stuff. You could expect that to happen before the first woohoo ever happens. And
that is very true.
It's very true.
Very true.
Yeah. I have finally reached one of my stages that I love in this world of content creation, that I was looking forward to because it makes me laugh. I've been told that I'm paid by certain studios to say things about movies that they're better than they are. And it's funny because certain studio, I'm always criticizing that studio and not that I don't like the movies that they put out. But according to people, I am paid by that studio. So I finally reached the shill stage in the creation, which is funny because that makes me laugh. And I say, well, damn, I would just love that money from that studio because that could help me out a lot right now.
Yeah, like that would be super beneficial. I wish, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But
When the hell is that check coming in? I really need that check.
yeah, let me
Yes.
call him up. That's funny.
Yeah. It's. I also wanted to point out something because it's living in New York. How is that for you? How have you taken the time to get adjusted to it in the 5 years you've been living there?
It's definitely been a challenge. Some days, some weeks, some months are harder than most, especially the winter aspect, because in Louisiana, our winters are not strong at all. We have like, 40-degree weather. So here, winter aspect, big change for me. A lot of things were big changes for me, but to be honest, I was so excited about moving here and I was so set on moving here that it was a big change, but I didn't really feel the change because I was ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, living by myself, I mean, I have three roommates, but living by myself, as an individual, none of my family's here.
Mm-hmm.
That has been a little harder. I've been very independent. I've always been very independent, so that hasn't really been an issue. But just on days off, it's like I'm fine. I'm fine being alone. This started getting really deep, but on some days like holidays or something, a day where I wouldn't necessarily go home, but it's still nice to celebrate. For example, maybe Easter.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go home for Easter, but as a kid, I used to always spend Easter with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
I would do an Easter egg hunt with my brother when I was little, and here it's like, okay, what do I do with my day? And it kind of hits me. It's kind of sad, of like, oh, how do I get through,
Mm-hmm.
not being so close to family. But I've made adjustments. I go to my friend's house, we celebrate there.
Mm-hmm.
I do other things instead. But there's been some setbacks, and then involving, of course, like I'm living on my own. I'm supporting myself,
Mm-hmm.
and for the first couple of years, it was really hard adjusting because I was paying I'm paying all my bills by myself, but I was also going to school.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little hard to juggle at first, but now I feel like I've got the hang of it. I'm able to work and save, which I'm really thankful for. So I really can't
Mm-hmm.
complain.
Yeah, budgeting. Very important,
Yeah,
guys.
budgeting, especially in New York City, you learn a lot of budgeting. A lot.
Yeah. It's what's it called? I keep saying that it's interesting, but you are a very interesting person, so I'm gonna have to keep
Thank you.
saying interesting. You are talking about how Easter. I can't even remember the last time I went home for Easter.
Right? I don't think I've
I
ever
can't.
gone home for Easter when I lived here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can't remember it all. The ones that are hardest though, and I'm gonna agree with you here. The ones that are hardest though are the birthdays because
Oh my gosh, I know.
you've been
So true.
conditioned and you're used to spending your birthdays with your family. So when you can't, it feels so weird. You're like, what the hell is going on? And, sometimes it makes the waves of sadness crash in. Recently, it has not been the same for me because now I get to spend my Easter with my wonderful cousins because I live near them now. And it's awesome. And I love
Oh,
that. But,
great. Yeah, that's great.
but during my first year of college, it was like, I spent it alone, literally
Yeah,
alone.
it's hard. It's
And
really hard.
yeah, I'm like, wow, this is unlike anything I kind of prepared myself for. Of course, you have the Thanksgiving and you have the Christmases and all that stuff. Of course, you can go home for that. But Easter, birthdays, whenever they drop, whenever they kind of drop in the week, they're hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you just have to go about your day like a normal day. And I mean, obviously I celebrate with friends and stuff like that, but it's not the same. And for example, one year, the year that I had technically graduated, December of 2017, my last final, I'm actually lucky because my birthday's in December. So I go home. I'm always in New York during my birthday, but I go home, a week or two after, and we celebrate for Christmas, and we also kind of celebrate my birthday a little bit. But December 2017, December 15th was my last final for college. And I took the final, and technically I was done with college. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
my very last time I ever had to go to college. And it was on my birthday. And so I took the exam and then I celebrated with some friends here. So it was kind of sadder than most birthdays because not only was I finished with college, but it was also my birthday on the same
Mm-hmm.
day. And, I wasn't able to celebrate with my family or anything like that. So that one hit more than others did. But yeah, that one's probably the worst.
Yeah, but you have a wonderful support system. you have wonderful friends, as you could tell. You, a lot of them are in your videos, and one of them that I can't remember her name, but I just want to give a huge shout out to her. It is amazing to see a woman of color with so much confidence putting it out there on Snapchat and stuff like that, and making content.
God, I love her. I love her so much.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just something about a strong, confident woman of color just putting it out there and not giving a single fuck and making content. It's amazing. It warms my heart, and it's an amazing thing. You have a wonderful support system. One of them is a friend of mine, a long-term friend of mine, and I make the joke that Ayden will be on his 6th, 7th apartment by the time I get to New York.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. It is so true.
I love Ayden. I didn't know him as Ayden before. I knew him as Beef Jesus. That was his name when I first knew him. And in a stream of Nikki, our friend Silanushi, who I did an interview with on the first episode, guys. You can guys go listen to that. She's a wonderful streamer, and that's where I've made a lot of my friendships. I mean, one of our executive producers of the podcast, Grayson Barker, a.k.a. what I knew him as first was Warlord. Warlord is one of my best friends, and Ayden is one of my best friends as well, but I knew him as Beef Jesus. For the longest of times, I called him Beef Jesus.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to call him that next time I see him.
I didn't refer to Ayden for a long time as Ayden. To me, it was always Beef Jesus, Beef Jesus, Beef Jesus, Beef or Beef Jesus. And
it's funny because Ayden actually refers to me as Muffin Queen.
Yeah.
Because the very first video he ever saw of me was I was making blueberry muffins. It's an old video.
Yeah.
And he came across my channel somehow, I don't know. And he found me on Instagram, and he added me on Instagram and messaged me, and we were talking about the video, and we were going back and forth for a very long time, and then that's how we actually became friends. Mm-hmm. So I'm really grateful.
Yeah, you have a wonderful support system in Ayden. I was about to ask you how you got to know him, but hey, you already answered my question before me even asking.
I read your mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you read my mind. You got to put that down in your resume. I read minds as well.
And I just want to. I love that you brought up about one of my really good friends. Her name is Siswana. And I just want to boast about her a little bit. She's amazing. She's so amazing. She also does content creation. She's making a movie right now, or a short film right now.
Love it.
About Bengali American, and growing up in America with Bengali parents, and that I'm so excited to see that. She showed me a couple previews of it, and I'm so excited. She also hosts galas every year, and she helps build schools in India for children. It's insane. She's such a philanthropist. She's such a great content creator. She's such a great support system, as you've said. I couldn't be more thankful for her. And she was my very first friend in New York. Yeah. Very first friend.
Let's go ahead and get me in contact with her after this. I want to talk about that film. I'm telling you, it's like I say, it's great to see where people take content creation. But I think
it's amazing.
It's amazing
to be able to see her over the years. She's done so many different things. She started off with a YouTube channel about like Sarah Taylor, which is like her alternate personality, and it was a lot of like comedy. It was really great to watch. I still love watching it. And now she's kind of gone different directions and done different things. So it's been wonderful to see.
Yeah, there's just, like I said, there's just something special about content creation, but there's just something extra special about women of color and people of color doing this, because it's an amazing thing. It's something you never really see, and I think that the platform of YouTube really gave birth to people of color making content, and especially now with podcasting as well. Like Brett, my co-host Brad said, before really this audio revolution started, podcasting was just a bunch of old white guys just talking on this microphone. But now you hear different perspectives. You have people of color actually coming on. You have what's it called, LGBTQ people. It's an incredible thing to see happen, and I love it, and I'm here for it. And
yes, I'm so here for it. I'm so thankful that so many more people are able to express themselves in the way they want to express themselves, and that this platform and many platforms give them the right to do so, and that they're unapologetically themselves. I love that so much.
I love that. Yeah, you never apologize for being yourself, guys. It's just,
exactly.
I think that's the most incredible advice we can give you guys. It's just,
if there's one thing you learn from this podcast, or one thing you take away from this podcast, this is it. Never ever apologize for being yourself.
Yeah. Just forget about the other episodes where I talk about other stuff and I make a fool out of myself. On this one, anything you need to learn, be yourself.
Be yourself and don't apologize.
All right. So I gotta ask one last thing here before we go ahead and leave into the Patreon section, because, like I said, I have a shoot at 12:30. So
sounds good. Mm-hmm.
Kind of need to wrap up, but don't worry. There's more of this. Where I'm gonna have more of you on here. I know for sure I'm gonna have more of you on here. So. One last thing I wanted to ask, is there anything coming that you want to do with content creation? Have you maybe meddled with the possibility of doing a podcast? Because I'm just going to say it right now, after seeing that video with you and Shaswana, whatever, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but yeah, I would just love to see you two on the microphone just going at it for like fucking 30 minutes to an hour, just talking about funny ass shit, because you guys are fucking hilarious.
Honestly, I haven't really thought about it that much because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so caught up in video editing, and I make so many videos, and it just takes me, like I said, it takes me forever to edit, which is like my weakness at the moment, But I definitely think that it would be so much fun, especially if Siswana and I did it together. Oh my gosh, it would be so much fun.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe we will. I don't know. You gave me a good idea.
Yeah, podcasting has never been easy. It's never been easier.
It's true.
Anchor.fm, Anchor app, you make it straight from your phone or your tablet. It's that easy. Just got to get yourself together. And I'm always here. Shout out to the sponsors, Anchor. They're the one who sponsor us. But I'm not being. I know I'm being paid, but they don't pay me to be this nice about them. They don't pay me to be this nice about them. But I'm serious when I say this, guys. Podcasting has never been easier. It's the easiest format right now that you can do this on. And yeah, so with that being said, I mean, anything else that is coming to the channel that you might want to talk about, that is, something you're kind of leading up to, that you're like a next big thing you want to do with the channel?
With the channel? So we kind of actually touched on it a little bit, and it's actually kind of crazy that you pointed it out. But the next big thing that I really want to do with my channel, other than, normal content creation, is I want to open up the door even more to talking about mental health, which I just think it's so big and it's so important that it shouldn't be overlooked. And I actually have filmed a few videos talking very seriously to the camera about, mental health in general, and just kind of bringing more awareness to that. So that's my focus right now, is being more open about that myself, and for other people. But that's the main thing at the moment that I'm like leaning towards.
Awesome.
I know it's like, wait, but we want this huge video idea, but that's my main thing right now, is because I need to get myself in the right place, mentally, to be able to think about the future a lot. And that right now, I think the best thing for me to focus on is like mental health. So I think it's a good thing to portray in the videos as well, because I'm being honest with my audience and maybe helping someone along the way.
No, I completely agree with you. And just let's go. Awesome stuff here. And I really enjoyed this talk with you. And we're going to go ahead and head into the Patreon section in a little bit. But before, we got to do a little bit of housekeeping. So, Amanda, where can the people find you on the internet? Can you tell them where they can find you on YouTube, most importantly?
So on YouTube, yes, all you need to do is type in my first name and my last name. My first name is Amanda. My last name is Dingman, Dingman. And I should show up. It shouldn't be an issue. Whenever I search for myself, I find myself. So hopefully it's not an issue for you guys. If you can't find me that way, type in my first name and my last name and type in Smorgasburg. It'll definitely show up there, because I have a video on that from a long time ago. And anytime I type my name in, that's the first video that pops up. Instagram. Wait, I'm sorry, what?
I was going to say, and you should tweet Amanda an emoji of a microphone if you listen to this episode.
Yes, you should. Go to my Twitter and tweet me an emoji of a microphone, or message me an emoji of a microphone, and I will be super grateful for you. We'll have a little conversation.
Awesome.
My Twitter and my Instagram have the same handle. It's @_ first name, last name. I actually recently just changed it, so I had to think about that. I changed it so it's like easier to find me, because before it was, my junior high Instagram handle, and it was very difficult.
Yeah, that's why I'm the nerdy Chicano on everything. Twitter, Instagram.
It's easiest if they're all the same. So true.
Yeah, I had to clarify some stuff sometimes. Like, I had to do before, like I said, nerdy Chicano on everything, but don't add me on Facebook if I've never had a conversation with you. I'm not gonna answer. I'm not gonna accept your friend request. And I had to.
My Facebook's pretty standard. Friends and family from when I was younger, kind of thing. And it's mostly just me posting about my videos. So if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you'll definitely see more of me than you would on Facebook. So
yeah, and I had to clarify that stuff because I was getting friend requests, and I was like,
I get them all the time. I'm like, who is this? I have no idea who this is.
All right, is that it for stuff that they can find you on?
That is it. That you can find me on like Visco if you want. It's just my first name and my last name, but I don't really post like that. Other than that, Twitter is my main form of social media. Instagram, I would say, it comes in a very close second. I mean, obviously YouTube is like number one, but you know, as far as talking day to day, Twitter, Instagram, be your best bets.
Awesome. Pick your poison, guys. Yeah. So that's
thank you
awesome.
so much for having me. No. Sorry to throw that out there. I'm just super grateful.
No. Hey, don't act like we're gonna stop. We still got the Patreon section right now.
So, I know. Don't worry.
Be prepared to get a swarm of words right now because I'm about to do the housekeeping for this.
Okay, great.
So, if you did enjoy this episode, please leave a rate and review on your podcast app of choice. It really does help the feed grow and helps us grow. So go there. Slap a 5 stars on iTunes, wherever you want. Remember, I used to do this thing where I told you guys, if you do 5 stars on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called now, I remember it as iTunes, and you leave your @ for either your handle for either Twitter or Instagram, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to give you a shout out. So go and do that. Also, make sure you follow the Nerdcore on Twitter at the Nerdcore _, Instagram at the Nerdcore, Facebook page the Nerdcore Pods. Also, join the Nerdverse, the official Nerdcore group where we talk about all things nerd. Take a shot every time I say nerd, damn it. That's all you can do. Patreon, if you guys want to listen to the section I'm about to do with Amanda, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/thenerdcore, CORPS, and join the $5 tier. But if you want to get this episode a day early before anybody, well, not a day early, a week early before anybody else, along with other extra shows, all you got to do is become a $1 tier member. So thank you to all the Patreon supporters because we really do appreciate your generosity. You're the people who keep this podcast afloat. The brand would not be where it is right now if it wasn't for your generosity. So, thank you to our associate producer, Sarah. Thank you for being a $10 tier member at the Patreon. Thank you to our executive producers. Executive producers are at the $15 tier level, and they get a shout out for their social media on every episode, and also they get a bunch of other cool freebies. So if you want to become a $15 tier member, you know where to go. But shout out to Grayson Barker. He's our first executive producer. You can follow him on Twitter at WarlordHitman98 and on Instagram at GraysonBarker98. And then Mr. Shane SRK. You can follow him on Twitter at SRRKK, Twitch. And you can see him playing games on twitch.tv/SRRKK. So thank you, Shane, for being an executive producer, and we love you for that, buddy. So with that being said, it has been a wonderful time, and we're going to go ahead and move on to the Patreon section. But for those of you who aren't part of the Patreon, you're missing out because I'm about to have a nice conversation with Amanda on there. So, Amanda, thank you for being on here.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And remember, guys, the file is closed, but not classified. We'll see you guys on the next one.